तत्परम्पर्याय विद्महे ज्ञानलिङ्गेश्वराय धीमहि तन्नो गुरुः प्रचोदयात्
Namaskaram, everyone, and thank you for your participation in another episode of Songs of the heart-to-heart conversations with members and mentors and teachers of the Gitananda yoga family worldwide. Today, we're delighted to have a very special guest, Dr. Reverend Marietjie Venter. Namaste.
Namaste.
So wonderful to see you. Once again, as it is the case with a lot of our mentors, these are very exceptional humane beings. And Marietjie is a non-denominational ordained minister and marriage officer. And she holds a master's degree in Old Testament and religious studies. And also she is a mentor and has been a mentor to many people seeking a spiritual path. And we will hear with and from Marietjie about her yoga journey. It started early in a very auspicious way. And she is a mentor of the Gitananda tradition. And she has been really a crucial part of the Yoga Step-by-Step course, online course that was conducted by Dr. Nanda all of last year. And presently, Marietjie, you are the principal of the Angeles School of Yoga in South Africa. And you are, as you mentioned, often you really enjoy the association with the Gitananda Yoga. So let's begin by inviting you to say hello to everyone and also share with us how your relationship with the teachings of Swami Gitananda began in your life. Thank you.
Well, namaste, everyone, and thank you, Sangeeta, for having me. I am very excited to be part of this talk and your whole program, and I feel quite privileged that you've asked me to share with you. So thank you. So my journey started with an enlightened mother. She was a yoga teacher. She came across yoga, thought that it was a class and practices to lose weight. So when she walked in, it wasn't anything like that. And she took to it like a fish to water. And I joined when I was 12 years old. I joined her classes and she took me around to all of them and she made me the demonstrator. So I had to demonstrate the asanas while she would speak about that and guide the students through all of the other teachings. Then when she heard about Dr. Swami Gitananda, she was so thrilled to have found a teaching that were covering all aspects of life. And she did the correspondence yoga step-by-step course. And of course, from there on, she taught Gitananda yoga. I followed soon after that. And up to date, I think we are about 22 plus students from the Angeles School here in South Africa who have completed the correspondence course with the Ananda Ashram. So extremely proud of our group of people down here on the southern tip of Africa. We were not a big school because my mother did not focus on just the asanas, which in the Western world, that is what students want. So she told them, if you want that, go and join the gym. And because she's not teaching gym yoga and neither hot yoga, because a lot of people were into that. So she made us study, because of the course, the physiology, the spiritual aspect, the emotional, the mental, the philosophy, and what we just simply refer to as the higher practices of yoga. And I am so, so, so grateful that I've had my mum as my teacher and as a very, very good friends. So those students who stuck with us throughout the years, those are the ones you really want in your class, because they have now began to understand that yoga means a way of life. and they put that teachings in a daily effort into their lives and live it extremely mindfully. And when I spoke about being mindful, I get so excited, especially when it comes to pranayama. And when one has to take that full breath into all 9 sections of the lungs, you have to be mindful. You have to be conscious. You have to be aware of what is happening. And then the higher mind kicks in. And I get a tremendous thrill out of practicing these practices.
Thank you so much, Marietjie. What a wonderful story, and what a wonderful, inspiring journey. So you have been then on the journey for not just so much the years, but really some of your life's passages, and what's called the ashrams of one's life, from youth to becoming to maturity, your grahasta stage of being a householder. What are some of the memories of you being a child and starting with your mom? And how do you think that teaching yoga to young children is useful based on your experience?
Yes, of course, I didn't think of it as anything. I would go with my mom, and you kind of grow up in the surroundings, so you just do it. But lo and behold, I grew up in a country and in a society that is very Afrikaans. So that is my first language. So English is my second language. And we've had a lot of very dogmatic religious beliefs within this culture and society. So yoga was an absolute no-no. It was considered evil. It was considered from the devil. And so I suppose because it came so naturally to me being with my mom in the classes, that I just never spoke about it, because we knew that we would be judged and condemned. And it did happen on many, many platforms. I think the younger we can begin with these teachings, the less baggage we have. Because when you're older, you try and analyze it. So, because people will phone us and say, we saw you were advertising for classes, but please can't you call it another name? Just don't call it yoga. And then people would come from a religious background and would literally attack me for being involved in something they consider not to be kosher. So when you're very young, because I didn't know what I did wrong, it was just so natural. Why would people be so upset about what I'm doing? There was no evil for me in any of these practices. So I think if you start younger and at a young age, you're more naturally into the teachings than if you're much older, because now you come with all of your own stuff and you've got to make sense. Now you want to do it, but you're not sure if it's right. I had a student who desperately needed help. The psychologists refer her to me, and she sat and she looked around the room and she says, that picture over there, and that was one of Swami Gitananda. And I said, yes. She says, can't you take it off the wall? I said, no, you are in my school and that is my teacher. And every time I looked at him, I'm reminded of the blessings of having received all these wonderful and amazing teachings. So yes, there have been a lot of challenges, but yes, younger, I think much better.
Thank you so much. So this series is a fruit of the research, studies, and teachings of our Paramparas gurus around the great philosophical principles of cosmic vibration and sound and resonance. And are you currently sharing the teachings of Nada Yoga with your students? Particularly, are you including practices with perhaps the Pranava Om or mantras? And if you are, which I know you are actually, but if you are, would you like to share a story of a remarkable effect or an awakening or something funny event that happened while teaching these practices. Because truly, sometimes the students it's like a veil is lifted when sound fully manifests like that, both intuitively, instinctively, and most of all, mindfully. So would you like to share some of your memories of teaching these practices, and which ones are they?
Yes, so to start off with sound, as I said, English is our second language. And then we are busy with this correspondence course where you only see the words in a written form. There's no one where we could hear it from. So it was extremely difficult for us in the Western world, not growing up in a yogic environment or even where Sanskrit has been used, to now all of a sudden get into this. I know I was so uncomfortable to make a sound. And especially in class, I mean, what am I going to sound like? I mean, I can't even keep a note or tone anything in music. What do they want us to do making these sounds? It was extremely uncomfortable, and we felt quite ridiculous in making sounds. But as you grow into it, you eventually just will laugh about it and you just get on. And at one stage, I was sitting in a class and I was struggling with this word. And I said, I don't know where to put the emphasis. How do you pronounce this word? And I look at the class and I say, you know what? I think I'm going to jump on an aeroplane and fly to India and go to the ashram and find out. It's exactly what I did. Me and some of the students, we got on an aeroplane with my little dictaphone in those years. And we arrived at the ashram and I had this dictaphone on through all the classes so that I could hear. And Dr. Ananda stressed the point that it's important that we know the sound, the vibration of these words, because we know they carry a lot of energy. So it was quite a exciting, interesting, funny journey. I remember Dr. Nalini was there at that time, and she was leading all the singing of the mantras, and we knew so little. I mean, we hardly knew one or two of the mantras, and she would go off singing and we had to repeat, and we were looking at each other in the class thinking, we haven't got a cooking clue what we are singing. She could say, let's go to the marketplace or let's go for lunch, and we will repeat after her the best possible way we can. And then we would start laughing, and then she would laugh, and she's got this beautiful laugh. And then we would laugh because she's laughing so lovely. So I can tell you, maybe we did not do so well with the mantras or the meaning thereof, but we had a joyful class. We really experienced such inner joy getting the vibration and the sound out of us who were so, quiet. Children must be seen and not heard. You grow up, you're not allowed to express. You're not allowed to give your emotions a sound. So that was very healing and liberating in a sense, that we could hear ourselves. And I find this so important in counseling and when we work with healing with past hurts, because I encourage people to give their hurt a sound. Make the sound of your emotion. If you're angry, don't just say, I am angry. Because you're not just angry, you're very angry. So how does it sound? And when you hear that, you can begin the healing process. So I find sound very therapeutical in some of the classes and work. Also, of course, I love Pranava Om. When I first heard the definition of it, it was said that is God in vibration. And I went, wow, isn't this amazing? I make the sound and I'm actually experiencing this link, this connection with the divine. And people ask always to be close to the divine. They say, God, help me. And we have these prayers, etc. And I think, God is so close. The divine energy is so close. so close that it's my next breath, if only I'm aware of it. So I think Pranava Om is probably one of the most popular exercises in our school. We've even had, well, before I moved away, and now everything is via Zoom, we had sharing quiet time on Sundays, where we would come and we will sing our Gayatri mantra, and we will simply start breathing and vibrating Ah, U, sometimes together, everybody at the same time Ah, and sometimes it's like a continuous Om. Everybody's doing it according to their own breath capacity and their own rhythm. And I can tell you it is powerful. After 10, 15, 20 minutes, something has shifted. Maybe we don't know how to express what happened. I just sometimes refer to it as a miracle or as magic that happens. That is extremely beautiful. Another one I personally like is Brahma Mudra. And we just refer to it as the neck exercises. You know, the one where you breathe in, turning your, moving your head to the right, and you vibrate Ah as you come back, to the left U, to the back E, and forward M. Something about the sound brings immediate connection, mindfulness. I don't know, it just feels after the third or fourth round that I'm connected. And a lot of students find that very helpful. And it's something, if you quickly have to get into a higher mindset, that is the go-to for me. And besides that, my neck gets some excellent exercise. And as I always tell the students, it's not just about moving the head. Brahma is that all-seeing deity. So by moving my head and my neck, it's kind of symbolic of to see in all directions, to be aware of all perspectives. And that sound, that universal vibrational primordial sound, that nada, comes in. And it kinds of not just helping you where you are now in your physical body, it does connect you to something higher, more profound, divine, whatever word you are comfortable to use, because that entire manifest universe arises from the sound. In the beginning was God. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God, as some of the texts will say. I don't know if anybody still remember the Moody Blues. Maybe students are too young, but the Moody Blues had a song, and they were singing, in the beginning, there was the Word, and the Word was, and then they go, and I was so chuffed when I heard a rock band acknowledging this universal vibrational sound. I'm still a fan of the Moody Blues and their music. So another one, if I can just mention, is the Bija sounds of the chakras. It was very difficult for us here in the Western world, not knowing how to make the sound. So when Dr. Ananda came to visit us 2 years after we've been at the ashram, again, I sat with my dictaphone, and he took us through that, and it became one of our favorite practices. Simply to be able to make those sounds and build the energy into a level of consciousness that is different than when you started that particular practice. And not to mention the bastrikas, the cleansing breaths. I mean, I didn't like to make that noise in the beginning. You know, we would go choo, 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 and my mom would say, excuse me, I can't hear you. Nothing came out, and we go choo, 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 a little bit louder, and now we don't worry. We just want to get everything out, the carbon dioxide out of the lungs, but most of all, the emotional stuff that got stuck in the cellular level, to get that out, the baggage, as I so call it, that we're carrying around. Get it out of the system. And then, of course, another one is simply the breath itself. The sound of the breath brings you that awareness of this prana, this life force flowing through your bodies, the panchakosha, the actual sound of the breath is magical. And we used to sit very close to our beginner students, just for 2 or 3 classes. I would sit close to them and I say, I want to hear you breathing. That when you inhale, because it is part of awareness. When I can hear it, I become involved with it. And then there's a yoking taking place. When that yoking takes place, I'm more than I was before I did that. And so I simply just love the sound of it. I remember also with Dr. Sir sitting there in my lounge, and he was my dictaphone, and I said to him, these notes say with the hangsa that I've got to make a sound. How can I make a sound and breathe in and breathe out? In his beautiful way, he said, no, you don't physically make the sound. It's the breath. The breath is the actual sound. When you breathe out, it's that ha. And when you breathe in, it's that ha. It sounds like the sa. And I went, okay. And that awareness was a big wow for me, to know that I can simply consciously breathe. And you tap into that universal vibrational sound. And as we know that with the inhalation, that is the sa, and with the exhalation, it's that hum or the ha. And the sa is that divine aspect of who I am. And the hum or the ha is the smaller self, more my ego. And so with this inhalation and exhalation, with the sound of the breath, and with this silent mantra, so to speak, one is actually repeating all the time, saying that I am the divine with every breath. What a beautiful prayer. What a beautiful state of beingness to be in that type of mindfulness. So to come back to mantras, we don't sing that much, simply because we just don't know them, and we don't know how to pronounce some of the words. But we have learned some at the ashram, and as I said, with Dr. Ananda's visit to South Africa, we learned some more. So we used to start our classes with the Gayatri mantra, and we would finish it with the universal prayer, and brought in as much as we can, but mostly I would say Pranava Om, the Bija sounds of the chakras, Brahma Mudra. Oh, another one I can just mention is simply doing a Vastrika breath with Spanda Nishpanda, where we tighten up the whole body with the inhalation. Hold it, hold it, hold it, and also mentally hold. What is it that you want to get rid of? What is it that you want to release? And then that, when you release, I find that is extremely helpful, especially with younger people, because they love to make the sounds. Or even the lion, they love it. They've got no issues and hang-ups with sound. So they find it very useful. And I've also found that particular exercise with the release of the breath and the sound very helpful for mentally disturbed people. We often laugh because I think you're so grateful that something has been released, that the laughter just comes automatically after a session like that. So yes, that's also something I use quite a lot.
Thank you very much. This is a class in itself. We're so grateful. Thank you. We are about coming to the conclusion of our episode here, and it is certainly not surprising that this feels just the beginning of a longer series of appointments with you. I knew this. Is there something you would like to share? But I will direct the sharing, so it's only partially a free flow, actually. Because your work as a reverend, your work as a counselor and as a guide, as a spiritual guide, of course, all of these beautiful contemplations on sound and spirit and God are partially part of the answer here. I would like to ask you about listening, because there's so many layers of listening. There is listening with our ears, there is listening with our heart, there is listening with our rational mind, there's listening with our guts. There's so many layers, and I am pretty sure that you in your profession, as well as in the yoga practice and teaching, are very fondly in love with listening, because right. So would you like to complete this episode by sharing with us some of your wisdom, pardon me, around listening?
Listening is very important, and as a teacher or a mentor or a counselor, that is actually what you do. First of all, by just listening and not talking, because when somebody sits in front of you, you kind of have got a good idea with what they may struggle with, because they may have shared why they're coming for class or for a session. So you've got a very good idea to begin with. And often we are so full of ourselves and what we think we know, and that we have all of this, that we just want to bombard someone with a lot of teachings and practices and our information. So it's very important to give the person or the students the opportunity and the space so that they can express. Because if you have stuff inside of you, it's important that you have a platform where you feel safe, not judged, so that you can let it out, so that you can let your sound, what is inside, be heard by someone that is not going to interrupt you after the first sentence and say, oh, yes, I know, you do. Allow them that space and the opportunity and the time for them to hear themselves in how they express themselves, but also for you as the mentor to take a step back at first and really listen, not just to the actual words, but the vibration that accompanies the words. So somebody will, you can say, I'm sad, or I'm angry, or you can say, I am angry. There's a different vibration. So you have to allow somebody to express in their own ways. And to do that, you have to sometimes step back and just listen. Because in the listening comes the wisdom. Sometimes when we get out of our own way, that which is divine and profound and wise can come in. And then when we open our mouths, there is something to be shared.
Thank you so much, Marietjie. What a great joy. We really appreciate you very much. Thank you for taking the time and energy and coordination to be here with us and to record this episode. And would you like to just add a few closing words before we close?
Yes, well, thank you once again. It's amazing that when one has the opportunity to express how you become grateful for what you have and what you have received. And so every time with anything like this, I'm just so filled with gratitude from my mother, from the Gitananda teachings, and all your beautiful mentors that we've met during the Zoom sessions. I mean, it is just for me, and thank you for giving me this opportunity so that I could hear myself again. And by hearing myself, I know where I need to work or to continue. So thank you. I do appreciate this.
Thank you so much. What a delight. So we thank you very, very much. And we thank everyone for listening and tuning in and sharing and caring. And many blessings to all. And we will be seeing each other and you all very soon. Okay. Much love to everyone. Ciao, ciao.
Loka samasta sukhinu bhavantu sarve janaha sukhinu bhavantu Om Shanti Shanti